guys
Here we
doing?
go.
What's up?
So
Great.
we're going to get you to introduce yourselves, give me your name, and I want to know where you grew up. And this is the Windsor version, so let's battle of the neighborhoods this
Yes.
out. Like, tell me
Okay.
where you're from.
Sure.
So Justin,
Okay, yeah, so my name's Justin. I play drums in the Bluestones. I grew up in Tecumseh, specifically, I guess it would be west of L'Esperance. That's the Tecumseh battle. You're either west of, maybe
Yeah, I
now
guess
it's like
that's
you're
true.
west of Manning or not.
Yeah.
But either
Yeah,
way,
Manning's a
I
big
was
divider now.
even further west. Yeah, so that's me. I grew up in Tecumseh.
My name is Tarek, and I also play in the Bluestones. And I grew up in Tecumseh as well. I actually was born in Sarnia, Ontario, but I moved here when I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. But really, I grew up in Windsor. That's kind of my hometown. And I grew up in Tecumseh, a little east of where Justin grew up, right off Brighton Road there. It's, yeah, great neighborhood. A lot of good memories.
Oh, yeah.
you went from one industrial town that makes oil to a city that uses the oil for cars.
Yeah, slightly larger one.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
This is a pretty big tour for you guys, right?
I mean, yeah, well, it'd be up there for sure. Yeah, we used to tour a lot more when we, like when Black Holes first came out, we were touring a lot. And we kind of learned that like we didn't need to hit every city on the map all the time, every time we toured. So we kind of scaled that back a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we hit all the major markets in North America and Europe. So it was definitely our most successful tour, I'd say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Europe was great. It
Yeah.
was like unbelievable the amount of tickets sold, people at the shows. Just like the general vibe of the shows was really exciting, It was a grueling schedule. Like if we're talking about the most recent tour we did, it was probably the hardest one.
Yeah.
Like if that was any longer, I think it would have collapsed by the end of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was like 4 shows. I think it was just over 3 weeks, which doesn't seem like a long time, but only 3 days off throughout the entire thing,
Yeah.
which it builds up.
Yeah.
3 weeks never sounds like a lot until you reach the 11-day point of any tour. And
Yeah.
You're like, I kind of just want to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot. Yeah. And you've only had like 1 day off at that point.
That's
yeah.
So you guys are coming up on a little bit of some time off.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Exactly.
This is your last show of the tour, ending kind of in your home base.
Yeah.
And this is the first time this has happened. It's the first time you're at like Caesars Windsor.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
That's great. I mean, we've seen some of our favorite shows there.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
we've never played this stage, which I think is crazy. But yeah, the Coliseum's been definitely a place that we've seen some amazing shows at. Had some friends play there as well, and now it's our time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that feel weird? Like the realization of it's kind of like your time?
I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. There's some things where it's like, it's been, we've been a band, we played our first show in 2010. And so now it kind of feels like it's right to have done it now.
Yeah.
So,
long time.
yeah. I think there was a point where it would have felt like weird, like, because if it happened like fast or something, if it happened quickly, but I feel like we've just had such a like steady growth that I don't know, we're kind of rarely surprised at stages that we end up playing.
Yeah.
Because we feel like we're ready for them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, St. Andrews in Detroit was big for us.
That was a big one.
Right? Like we headlined that, and we've seen so many shows there. Anybody from Windsor knows the connection between obviously like being a Windsor native and seeing a show in Detroit, especially at St. Andrews. So playing that venue was like definitely a benchmark or a sort of bucket list check. And then this one as well, the Coliseum. And I mean, we're at support, but at the same time, it weirdly feels like one of our hometown shows. Like all due respect to Collective Soul, like it's your show.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like there's gonna be a lot of Windsor people there who I assume know who we are. So yeah, we're gonna treat it like it's a hometown show.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though you are supporting and you're opening, this album is a little bit of a diversion or like slightly kind of different than the way you guys have done this before. A little bit of it in the writing, a little bit of it in the concept. And you were talking about how it's like exciting to be able to show the concept to Windsor and what this whole album is like. So in that sense that you're not just supporting, you have something to give back. What are you excited to show to Windsor in in the show with this concept that's maybe a little bit different than the earlier stuff you've done?
I think it's just like a nice display of our evolution, as a band. Like people who will be there might remember us playing at Fog Lounge in our suits, like way back when we were playing Black Keys covers or something like that. And now it's just become an entirely different thing, and I think we just care so much about, not that we didn't care about the music before, but I think you have like a newfound sort of like depth of how deep you can go into like the music that you're making. And I think with Metro, we went there, because it's an all-encompassing experience of story, concept, music, and like a recording experience for us too. Mm-hmm. And I just think, it's unlike anything we've really done before.
Yeah. Okay, elephant in the room. Is it different than anything you've done before because you had the creative? It's your gig now. Like you have your own label.
Yeah.
Do you think that you kicked the door open a little bit? You had your time building to this, and now this is, kind of pushed the band to another level.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we wrote anything differently. Like I don't think we ever had creative pressure when we were signed to a label. They were really, really good with being hands off and almost like, well, we signed you because we thought you wrote good songs, and so just keep doing that. There was definitely, like when we were in the studio, it was just Tarek and I and our producer Paul, and there was definitely, we kept talking about like how we're going to do this given that we are our own label, and that just meant like we wanted to push it harder, and we wanted to prove to everybody that like we could still be successful. We didn't need someone else's bank account in order to have a successful record. And it feels like we achieved that. So, yeah.
This is the third album you've worked with Paul on then?
This would be the second.
Second?
Yeah, this would be the second. Yeah.
Brett Humber. All right, Holler Out Windsor.
Yeah,
that was your first
Brett,
one.
Yeah. Black Holes wasn't with Paul. Paul did Hidden Gems, and then we did a few different producers for Pretty Monster,
right?
And then Metro was Paul again.
Back to Paul.
Yeah,
Back to Paul.
Yeah.
Was it like the comfort and the relationship was really built?
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He's just,
was there a lot more trust in that too, kind of being out on your own? Like, were you maybe looking, like, was his role as a producer maybe slightly different, given what you guys are now as a band and a label?
I don't know. I wouldn't say that. It was more, the difference was we had already made a record together, and so we had created that bond, and we were like way more friendly as opposed to like sort of acquaintances. And we got into like it was great. It was a studio house in LA, and we cooked dinner there every night. I mean, we went out a couple times, but like cooked dinner there every night, and we would just wake up and record until we went to sleep.
Yeah.
And during the dinners, we got into a lot of like intimate stuff that didn't really have to do with the music industry a lot, and it just felt like because of that, the connection that we had built, we were like able to be more vulnerable and kind of like push the envelope a little further because we knew we were comfortable with each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that when he produced Hidden Gems for us, he hadn't seen us play live.
Yeah, that's true.
He hadn't been to a show. And then years later, after he'd been to a few shows, signed on to do another record with us, he comes into this session thinking like, okay, I know what you're like on stage, and I'm gonna marry the two of like recorded music and live performance, which is why Metro feels different to Hidden Gems, I think.
Yeah,
at least in part.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree.
And sort of the immersiveness of writing this and being in like one place,
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah, that always helps.
Yeah, exactly.
does.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when we talk to most musicians or anything, it's always like, one thing happens at a table and it's just this catalyst for another, and all of a sudden you've written another song, or you're talking about a whole other idea.
Yeah, I think we had like how many? So Happy Cry, Your Master, Come Apart, Jesse James, And is there one more? At least 4.
Yeah, I think
If not, one
maybe
more.
one more. I think maybe one more.
So we had like 4 or 5 songs that were each written
Yeah.
in one day, while we were, just sort of Tarek was noodling around on the guitar, and Paul was like, let's keep working on that. And it turned into a full-fledged song by the
Yeah.
end of the day. And those are, some of the best songs that are on the record.
Yeah.
So,
Most of the
it's just,
singles.
yeah, exactly.
Most of the singles. Yeah.
So,
I think the spontaneity of sometimes being able to write those things and have that flash in the pan happen in like one day, and be able to put something away, rather than, you guys don't live in the same place. So sometimes you're sending stuff back and forth, and then you're kind of thinking about it and you're listening to it, and you're trying to think of the best part sometimes. And I think that spontaneity, when you guys are in a room, those songs that you've listed, and I've gone back and listened to them before, I'm like, there is something there. And I think I love watching bands that like play live and record live together. This is the first big album kind of since the COVID thing. So is that also kind of another push, like having written something and had the Juno Award in 2022 from that? This was like that next big push.
Yeah, I mean, the nomination was nice. Like, all of them have been nice. I always say, like, just call us when we win one.
yeah.
It's funny because, like, even talking to like CBC Windsor, or like some of the journalists, I don't know, do you call them journalists these days? At Windsor Star, and they'll like reach out after a Juno nomination, and I'm like, you sure you guys want to do this again? Because like, I don't know if we're gonna win.
Yeah.
Anyway, that aside, it's. I don't know if COVID played so much into this album. Like Pretty Monster, I think, since that was released as things were opening up, I think that had more of an influence or it was more influenced by being a part of staying inside and all this different stuff, and writing sort of confined to one space. But Metro was nice because, it's years later, we are continuing down the path of like what our artistic evolution is. And
just dystopian reality.
There you go, dystopian reality.
Branching right off of that post-COVID album.
Yeah.
Just rolling right into it.
Exactly.
Everything does feel different from COVID. Like, pre to post, it feels like we had a world change.
Oh yeah, big time.
And I wonder when that was, but it does feel that way.
Oh yeah.
Alternate reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, what Metro is and why it fits so well, I think, is because it's sort of rooted in those ideas.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the new label and the fact that you guys like Beastie Boys yourself, like by sampling your own name and bringing it forward. What really kind of pushed that for you guys to become your own label, more than just a band, and now kind of the business behind the band?
Yeah, I mean, we reached the end of our deal when we put out Pretty Monster, and when we just looked at everything that was available to us, it just made the most sense to do it on our own. We felt like we are really good at like maintaining our own audience and engaging our own fans and growing our own fans, and so we felt like we didn't need so much support from someone else to try and continue that. And so it was like it was just the best option that was on the table, really. But it was a lot of fun to like dive into the ownership of it and the business side of it, and like dictate where we're spending the money. And sometimes you can get frustrated with people who work at record labels because of decisions that they make of where they want to spend money and whatnot. So it was just nice to not have that. It was like everything was up to Tarek and I, and it was very empowering for sure.
Does that financial shift also put the band in a different position, kind of moving forward in the future of the band financially?
Yeah, like, it's a double-edged sword because you own everything, you end up making more, but you have to shell out for everything, right? Sure. So it's an investment.
A lot more planning involved.
Yeah,
right? Like,
a lot more time.
You got to be a bit more intentional about like where you're spending money and how.
Yep, exactly. So I mean, hopefully, we'll get to that. We'll get to a point where like the money is like recouped and it starts to make sense in the long term, which we knew, was good. That was the plan the whole way through.
True.
So, yeah.
by creating this other business and your label, was there struggles in there that you didn't necessarily expect? Was it like, on one side it's like, oh, grass is greener, we're just going to start our own label and we're going to do this. But was there something that you hit as a roadblock, or maybe something that you hit even as a band that you just didn't expect when you were doing that?
It's just a lot of work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
Because like we are signing off on everything involved in that album, right? Because we're the label.
Yeah.
So if it's something like artwork, or where it's going to be distributed, or manufacturing, like it really, you dive in to the non-artist side of things, which can be it can be tough, because it starts to cut in and eat away at the creative side of things when you're constantly having to switch between, all right, business mindset and creative, right? So if I'm sitting here trying to figure out, like we're trying to figure out stock inventory for a tour, or really just to have in stores, but then Justin and I are trying to finish a song or listen to a mix. It's like a weird switch that has to constantly happen. We've been pretty involved in our own project for a long time, so I think we're good at it, and just because we're used to it. But ideally, you kind of want to separate yourself with a few trusted individuals, whether that's a label team, management team, whatever, that will handle that side of things for you, so you can just be an artist.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
But in our case, we have to do both.
Yeah.
So speaking of being an artist, and now that you're a label, does this open the door up for you guys to be pushing other artists or helping some other artists that might be starting careers?
We've kind of thought about it, but
Yeah.
I think the idea that we had was like, let's get it right for us first.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, it's like the whole putting on your oxygen mask on an airplane. Like you gotta handle yourself first. If you can't do your own project, how are you gonna launch anybody else?
Right.
But it's something that we talked about, and there's potential for it. I think that's something we'd visit down the line, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Does this also make it easier now, being your own label, for collaborations and stuff? You kind of mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Like working with
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Because anytime we wanted to we did a remix album for Pretty Monster, and it was a bit of a nightmare trying to get approvals on who gets to remix our songs and how do we distribute them, and do these get lyric videos or not? Right. And then it's now we can just go have those conversations.
Yep.
The local artist Datsun did a remix of Good Ideas, and that was awesome. But we've always thought it'd be great for just to have kind of anybody be able to remix stuff, and then we put it out together. And now that we're a label, that's just a decision that we make, and we can make it quickly. So that's a nice benefit to it.
Mm-hmm.
You went from musicians to labels, and when I listen to you guys talk about some of your music, you're inspired by things like movies and video games.
Yeah.
And I think kind of the new album, I like how you have a little bit of the announcements kind of thrown in there.
Right.
So it's like a little video game feel, and it kind of pushes you through that story. If you weren't musicians and you didn't have a label, what would you be doing?
It's a good question. I don't know. I've always sort of considered myself to be pretty entrepreneurial. I'd probably have another business of some sort. I don't know. I like digging in. I like being my own boss. That'd be. I don't know what it would be, but
yeah. I'd probably say, even both of us have started dipped our toes in the acting world.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of local Windsor stuff that we've done. If you do a search, you can probably find some pretty funny,
easily find it.
Funny indie films that we've been a part of.
Yeah.
Great ones. But yeah, I'd say acting or voice acting. That's always been a world I thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. I thought about being a streamer, and I was like, just the whole content thing. I just don't think I would keep up. But yeah, acting or voice acting would be where I would at least want to try.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had to throw a kind of dart at the wall with that collab project, I think I'm a big Queens of Stone Age Josh Homme fan, but could you think of that kid playing in the desert and being I'd love to play with Led Zeppelin one day, and you're throw the dart, and all of a sudden he's in this band. What would be kind of that one where, it puts you back to feeling oh my God, if we could just do this.
Oh,
interesting. I mean, when we first started out, we were really big and still are, but like Sam Roberts was huge, huge influence on us. And I, remember thinking like, oh, it'd be cool to have some kind of like super group with him.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, there's obviously things like, oh, I wish we could play Madison Square Garden, or, I wish we could play Coachella or something like that. Aside from that, like creative endeavor, it would be really great to collaborate on like a big time artist, or even like bridge the gap between rock and pop with somebody like, I don't know, just throwing out a random, like Harry Styles or Bruno Mars.
Yeah, I was gonna say Harry Styles' new stuff is like very
really.
I had someone text me recently, actually, one of the new songs, and they were like, "This reminds me of Bluestones." I was like, "I don't see it, but like,
Interesting.
I see." I was like, "I see why you say that," but yeah.
Yeah, to collaborate with somebody like that would be massive, and it would be really fun. So I think that collaborating with a big time pop artist or even producer like Mark Ronson.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Being at your point, and then now in our hometown, if you're going to talk to younger bands from this town, and is there a piece of advice or something you'd kind of say to them, just to inspire them to push through? Maybe the bar's not full. There's not a lot of people out there seeing like.
Oh, I knew this question was coming.
Yeah, here we go. I mean, the thing that we always say, there's two things. Like, one, it's changed so much since we started, and it used to be really easy to book shows. You just like hit up Tom from Fog. I mean, you could still probably do that. He's really great. But I've heard now that it's like, how many followers do you have on Instagram? And if you have like less than 5,000, they like don't respond to you and stuff.
Like the venues.
So it's so different. But I think the one thing that's evergreen is like consistency is king. And from today to like 2010, when we first had our first show, we were working on something to do with the Bluestones like every day or every week.
Yeah.
And just always pushing one thing forward. It adds up, and it takes time, but if you're just like consistent about it and you don't think about where you want to be, just do the next thing, then do the next thing after that, you'll eventually get somewhere.
Yeah.
If you have good music.
Yeah, true. It's like you gotta have good music that you actually believe in to start. Like if somebody were to come up to me and be like, cockiness aside, if they were like, I'm writing such good music, I don't know why it's not blowing up. I'm like, that is the entry point, is to have music that you think is good and that you want to share with people. That's like baseline requirement. Then you have to do all the work, and we've gone through so many trends of how to get your music out there, and every single one of the trends we've like scoffed at or like pushed back on. Like, it's been friction. Like, I remember being in your basement, putting our EP into little folders or files that we were then going to send out via mail to all the college radio stations. Like, we were sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this. But we did it because it was something that we could control. It's the same thing with social media now. It's annoying, and it's can be really hard and a lot of friction if you don't really like what you're making, but it's something that like you can do yourself to control the fate of your own music. Yeah. So take advantage of it. Yeah. It's an insane tool. So I guess my advice would be take advantage of the things that you can control, and don't necessarily rely on somebody like an agent or a manager or a label, which everybody seems to want to go to a label, to make yourself successful. You don't need those things anymore. They're nice to have along the way, and they're definitely pickup points, but there's just so much you can do as an independent artist now. Yeah. So much.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you look at the Juno category that we're nominated for this year, there's only one band that's on a label, like on their own, on a major label, or one that they don't control, right? The Beaches, Grandson, Bryan Adams, and us all released independently. Yeah. Which I think is massive. Like that, it's kind of like the proof is in the pudding there. You can control your own destiny and just take stuff the way you want it to go.
I think that's a great place to leave this part of the interview off.
Sweet.
But, I would just like to give a little shout out to places like this, Long McQuade, that teach musicians and have given us the spot for the interview. So if you just want to kind of,
Sure.
you know.
I mean, I can directly shout out Long McQuade. Like the staff here are amazing. I'm here all the time, and the fact that this exists in Windsor even helps like a touring musician at our level so much. Like the fact that we can dip into rentals on random pieces of gear that we might need for a tour that I don't necessarily own. Just having this as like the music staple of the community is so important. And I understand it's a franchise, and there's probably a lot of great independent music stores as well in Windsor, but this has like a hometown feel to it. And I know the guys here and the girls here that work, and everybody's just so great. So yeah, huge shout out to Long McQuade. They've
Big
been
time.
a big part of the come up.
Yeah.
And then not only that, we, oddly enough, have some local media here that has given you some support. So a little shout out to Windsor Life
Yeah.
would be good.
Big time. Yep. I mean, it's the community supporting the community. It's how it should be, which is great.
Yeah, Windsor Life Mag. I feel like we've been covered a few times in Windsor Life, and the thing that I like is that, especially when we did our recent interview, like the questions were thoughtful, and it wasn't just questions that you could search up on the internet and find answers to. Like you actually dove in a little bit more. So I suppose Windsor Life cares about the story versus just the headline, which I think is really great. So shout out to
Agreed.
Windsor Life.
Yep.
Thanks for coming to Windsor.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Great
meeting
to
you
be in
guys.
Windsor.
Honestly, it was really good to meet you guys face to face finally, and we will keep following up on more of the record stuff because I still have a list of questions. Honestly,
Sweet. Yeah.
all
That's
record.
it. When we can do it, we can do it. But yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.